G'day everyone, and welcome back to the Scoundrel Ring. My name is Bodhi Cutler, and I'm joined, as always, on this week's podcast by Alexander Bray
Uh,
and Paul Coletta.
Hello, everybody.
Paul's a
I
bit
refuse
tired.
to not fish during this podcast.
All right, fish all you want. Anyway, guys, we are a Australian Pokemon TCG podcast. We specialize in Australian Pokemon news, and we are affiliated, of course, with Ace Trainer Australia. Just to bring you up to speed, what we like to do is we start off with some news from Australia and around the world. Our first topic of news today is Guardians Rising. We finally had some card releases and some new GX released from this Guardians Rising, the May English set of the Pokemon TCG. So we're going to have a chat about them. The first card we're going to talk about, the most hyped card, the card that everybody has been talking about since it was revealed, Tapu Lele GX. Paul, what are your thoughts on Tapu Lele?
Tapu Lele GX, more like it. It is. It's a really good card. Solid consistency. Um, DCE for not like the hugest impact in the world, so you're not going to get Mewtwo Wars again. And then one Psychic for a reasonable GX attack, which is not going to break the bank. I think it's a good card. Like, it's not. I don't think it's super duper crazy, amazo, fantastico that everyone makes it out to be, in the sense that it's like uncounterable. But at the same time, I think it is just a solid card, and I could see it being played in just about every deck, at least as a one-off. So keep it short and simple this time. I like the card. Plus, it's psychic
Alex,
tap. Yay!
is Tapu Lele the OP next shaman that everybody is touting it to be?
I had this talk with Dan, and we were saying how I think in like early 2015. So we just come off the 2014 format, which was like Flash Fire, and we were just entering Fury's fifth steer. And there was no Shaman back then, but Jirachi was still a thing. And instead of playing four Jirachis or really low counts of draw, everyone just ran like 14 supporters, so you would never dead draw. And decks were much more linear back then. I don't think it's that great. The only reason why I'd look at the card is if I could figure out a way to break like Maxis or Archies again, because I feel like that deck died because of a combination of not being able to search for Jirachi, because it's obviously rotated, as well as Battle Compressor rotating. But I think there's a lot of discard cards and balls as well in the format again, where you could probably get your hand down to one card, or at least Ultra Ball and two cards, and now you can search for the Tapu and get either Maxis or Archies. So that'd be the only reason I'd look at the card, but not in terms of a consistency thing. Nothing even close to Shaman.
Okay, we're going to move on now, guys. We're going to talk about the second most hyped card that came out of these reveals, and that is another Tapu or a Guardian, which is Tapu Koko GX. Now, Tapu Koko GX, for those who may not know, is 170 HP. Its ability, when you play it from your hand to the bench, you may move any number of lightning energy attached to all of your Pokemon to that Pokemon, Tapu Koko that is, and then if you moved any energy, it switches to the active. Tapu Koko, it is 3 energy for 130, and its GX attack does a buttload of damage depending on how many of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. Paul, what do you think about Tapu Koko? Is it the lightning attacker that lightning decks need?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to be a reasonably strong attacker. How it gets, I suppose, broken remains to be seen, but I'm a big fan of it. To my understanding of its translation, I believe it's not just basic lightning energy, which is really cool, because that means you could move something like, say, Electrode when that gets blown up and turned into double lightning. So you could just be like not running around with electrodes moving from Tapu Koko to Tapu Koko, which just seems really funny to think. You'd think they're like rolling around the ball to each other, of energy. But I suppose visual aside, I really like the fact that this thing can potentially come out on the first turn and do 130 damage. There's a couple of lightning weak things in the format which would probably stand to hate this card. Looking at you, Evil Toll, been around forever. And then, of course, its second attack is just punishing if you try to like spread your resources or overload one Pokemon too much. So, and the fact that it can come out of nowhere is really nice. So, no retreat. No weakness or resistance is decent. 2 retreat's a bit of a bummer, but hey, when you basically bust in every time you use it, the only thing this card feels like it's missing at the moment is something like AZ. Just a way to pick the card back up to reuse its ability. Especially considering that with 100 being a basic, you can buff that up to 210 with Fighting Fury Belt, so you can potentially keep it around for a while and just constantly stream these big attacks from the beginning. Let's see what else gets revealed from this set. I think the card has some pretty solid strength behind it, but it might be one of those not good in this set, but better when more cards come out type of card.
Okay. Alex, I want to talk to you now about Turtonator GX, another new GX that was revealed. Turtonator, 190 HP Fire Pokemon. It's got a solid attack for Fire colors, which does 160 damage. The 2 interesting attacks, though, are a DCE for 20 damage. If this Pokemon is damaged by an attack during your opponent's next turn, place 8 damage counters on it. And its GX attack attaches 5 fire energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way. Is this a Volcanion card? Is it going to see its way into a lock deck using its first attack over and over and over again to stop your opponent from killing them? They'll kill themselves while attempting to attack you. Where do you see Turtonator GX fitting in?
I wouldn't say a lock sort of deck, not when Escape Rope is still in the format. It's too easy to move Turtonator from the active spot. I don't think that's the best part of the card. It's definitely the fire energy from the discard. What's the cost of it? Sorry, I don't have the card in front of me.
1 fire is its GX attack for
1 fire. Yeah, that's much better. Like, I can see that being a really good in a late game item lock deck. Yeah, definitely. Or just a late game energy recovery. I think it's really strong. Definitely not for its first attack though. I don't know if I'd put it in Volcanion. I think Volcanion would rather. I think the strength of Volcanion is not its late game. It's always been its early game. And playing a Turtonator, specifically have a late game attack like that, I think is almost a waste of a turn. Because if you're playing Volcanion and you're not taking a prize every turn, it's probably not going to work that well for you.
Sorry, Paul, go on.
I was gonna I just wanted to put a very brief note in there. I actually think that card seems decent in Volcanion more as a one-off, because we're seeing the HP cap keep increasing, and 160 buffed by 3 steam ups hits 250. So that's kind of a reasonable number to actually look into. So that could be a very last 2 prizes sort of deal in case you can't capitalize on something a little bit smaller or weaker. So maybe like that could be decent, just as a side note.
I think it's got a lot of potential. The last card we're going to talk about, guys, is actually not a GX. It is a card called Delmise, which I think is it one of the Ultra Beasts. I don't know too much about Sun and Moon 2.
Delmise is just an anchor, buddy. He lives in the sea.
It's just a sea anchor? Okay.
He's sure. Well, actually, technically, the body is the seaweed. The anchor is just the thing it controls, but apparently it's like 12 foot tall and hits like a monster truck. So.
Okay.
He also lives in the pineapple.
No, that's just the sea sponges.
Okay. Anyway, so as long as this Pokemon's in play, each of your metal Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to the opponent's active Pokemon. Are there enough good metal attackers for this card to be good, Paul?
I feel like I'd just rather use Choice Band. I don't think that filling the bench with a Delmise is ever going to be legitimately worth it. Kind of pains me to say it, but I mean, it's not an EX, so the argument of comparing it to Regirock EX doesn't completely hold up, because this thing is not a 2 prize liability. But I don't know, basically depends on what the HP number, what the magic numbers are that you need to hit in the coming format. You might be fine to just run Choice Band, Kukui, and then just like, I don't know, you might be able to get away with just those cards. Like, I don't know that you're ever going to really need Dhelmise, or you may not need multiple copies of Dhelmise, so maybe one or two, but depends on what the metal decks that come out are. I mean, like, Solgaleo GX hits for 230 anyway. It's probably going to just blast everything open with Sunsteel Strike, so that probably doesn't need Dhelmise. And then if you look at something like, what other metal attackers are there? I mean, there's Scizor and Mega Scizor. Maybe it could be good for Mega Scizor because it only hits 120, so it might be nice for it to hit 130.
It does help it Scizor's numbers a little bit. Takes a lot of things into a KO range, and of course we'll be getting the stadium that prevents weakness damage done to steel Pokemon as well. That might help Scizor a little bit. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I mean,
That's all that we really wanted to talk about for
yeah.
now. We're going to go on now, guys, to our next news topic, which is there was a huge weekend. We had 6 league challenges all over Australia, of course, and there was a big regionals over in America that we will get to in our main topic. But 6 league challenges all over the country. So there were 2 in Melbourne, 1 in Tasmania, 1 in Brisbane, 2 in Sydney. Paul, you attended a league challenge and placed 3rd. We want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Tell me about, just to give me a quick brief summary of your event. What ended up winning the event on the day, and how did you feel about, and what deck did you play?
Volcanion won the event, funnily enough.
Ugh.
Which is really funny because we were discussing how Volcanion seems to be on the decline. But in any case, Volcanion won. I didn't get the chance to play against it, which is a bit of a shame because I wanted to play it, test a little bit more. I was playing the Umbreon, the Evolution GX deck that I discussed a little while ago. Since I had access to the cards and I wanted to just give that a try. Not too bad at all. I did enjoy the deck, but I honestly don't think I got to use the Origins Evolutions as much as I would have liked. Shadow Bullet is an amazing attack, and I think Espeon GX is a little bit better than I gave it credit for. Psychic is quite a powerful attack, and Psybeam's really nice against Tauros GX because then they can't hit you back for much, and they're confused, so you can ping them a couple of times, and then they can potentially run the risk of hitting themselves and then setting themselves up for a KO. So I enjoyed the deck. Needs a bit more consistency, though, I think. Remains to be seen if I play that at the IC, though. Ultimately, I had a good time.
Alex, unfortunately, there were no league challenges over your way, but of course, you are still a recovering League Cup champion, so you don't need any events really until Paul or I win something more than the league challenge.
Joel did try. He tried to make it an LC.
Unfortunately,
No, I just had league.
Yeah, just regular league for you. I was away on holidays, so I didn't get a chance to participate. I wanted to bring up a quick set of statistic for you guys. The most popular deck over the weekend in Australia was Volcanion. Is anyone really surprised?
No.
Not in Australia, no.
Not in Australia, no. We are a very Volcanion heavy field.
And Meta's always, we are always like a format behind.
Just a little
Yes.
bit. The next top placing was Turbo Darkrai, which again to be expected, and we'll talk more about Turbo Darkrai in our Anaheim discussion. But Mega Mewtwo, Mega Rayquaza, Umbreon, and Jolteon Glaceon all took multiple top placings or took first places. Was there anything on the list that I put out that really surprised you guys, like took you by surprise?
In terms of decks,
Yeah.
Mega Gardevoir a little bit. I say Mega Beedrill, but I know exactly who it is, so I don't really care. More so the Mega Gardevoir.
Mega Gardevoir is interesting. Do you think
we discussed this thing's matchup against Turbo Dark? I'm pretty sure this podcast, so I don't know which one it took 3rd place at. Was that you? No, because you got 3rd, didn't you, Paul? Which state was that in?
What took third place? Sorry.
It took third place
This
in
Mega
Melbourne.
Guard. That was
Wouldn't that have
Melbourne,
just
was it? Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say South Australia, but yeah, Melbourne. I think it was.
Yeah, good joke.
No, I wasn't even trying to be a joke. I don't actually see people
Uh,
playing Mega Gardevoir in Australia like ever.
But it was the Primal Clash. Is that Primal Clash? Yeah.
Brilliant Arrows Primal Clash, yeah.
I don't know what to think about that deck. I haven't thought it was good for a very long time.
I mean, okay, so like obviously it lost Aromatisse, but I think people are playing it with maybe the guy played it with Xerneas Break, and like it's not necessarily bad. I think it's just slow. Like, well, obviously that would make it not fantastic to play, but it's bulky. Like Xerneas is pretty bulky, accelerates 2, and then with EXP shares you can maintain a reasonable board presence.
I think
just got, like,
yeah, XP share. I feel like it's the crux of this now.
yeah.
Being able to, or just that tool removal is not going to be a factor.
You know what it
EXP
is?
share is the crutch of a lot of decks at the moment.
Looking at you, Turbo Darkrai. I mean, it definitely helps out there. But I think that may be why the deck does kind of well, because it just runs. The concept is similar to Turbo Darkrai in that you're just like trying to keep heaps of fairy energy on board, but Mega Gardevoir obviously ramps up a lot quicker. And then Xerneas Break is just a nice like single prize alternative attacker. So I think it's just like that, but it's a little bit slower, kind of bulkier, and also it resists Dark, which is just possibly part of how it did well. Like Turbo Darkrai was one of the high placings. So, and like Umbreon, people played that as well. So, you know, Umbreon hype, Darkrai hype, Yveltal hype, all dark types, all things that Gardevoir resists, and all things that Gardevoir can probably beat one-on-one, assuming he can get a fast enough setup. So maybe that's why I got played.
All right, guys. Our last news topic is the sort of the weekly content plan for Ace Trainer that we always talk about on the podcast. So we have confirmation that we are going to be able to record a league challenge on Sunday up here in sunny old Brisbane. So starting next week, there's going to be some commentary from Paul and I on this league challenge, as well as some live game recordings that Paul and I will also be commentating over, as well as the regular Road to Melbourne series and deck list videos. Moving on to our main topic. Now, guys, we're going to spend 15 or 20 odd minutes chatting now about Anaheim. It was a big regional championships that happened just 3 days ago in the United States. We're going to go over the top 32 decks. The deck that ended up winning, of course, was Darkrai Dragons, I guess. I was going to say Darkrai Giratina, but it plays Salamence now too. Turbo Dark came second, and there was another Turbo Dark in top 4 alongside Vespiquen. So, Alex, I want to go to you first and ask you about this top 32 that we see from Anaheim. What stands out to you first before we delve into sort of the top 8 and beyond?
To be honest, and I genuinely mean this is exactly what I expected the meta to be. Exclude the outliers like the Rainbow Road and the Gyarados, like, yeah, that doesn't really count, but like, the most popular deck was Turbo Dark, I expected that. Mega Mewtwo was the second one, I expected that in top 3, and then Vespiquen was the third most popular deck in top 32, which I expected as well, which is why I played it in my league, because I thought it had a lot of promise. And then I knew Yveltal wasn't going to go away. It took maybe a little bit more of a percentage than I was expecting. And then the fifth deck, which we talked about how the Americans sometimes play, sometimes they don't, and that's Mega Ray, you know? And that has a... If it goes off, it can beat every single other deck, you know? Like, but we've discussed this before, it's a glass cannon, and sometimes it hits, sometimes it runs hot, and sometimes it doesn't. And obviously, the 9% of the field up there in the top 32, those guys were running hot until probably the last couple of rounds, because none of them top 8'd. So, if you had to pick something, it would be the Volcanion, not being as popular, but you look at all the decks in the top 32. Turbo Darkrai, running high counts to Silent Lab, which in an opening turn can cripple Volcanion. Mega Mewtwo's running Gardevoir, which nullifies Volcanion's steam up abilities completely. Vespiquens are also running the evolutions, particularly the Vaporeon, to be able to hit Volcanion for weakness. Your Veilguard's got Garbodor, obviously, and Mega Ray. I can tell you this from personal experience: if Mega Ray goes off, you do not win.
You really don't, do you? What did you expect there to be a sprinkling of Sun and Moon, or did you expect it to have more of an impact?
I didn't actually think the only deck would be the Decidueye variants probably, because we had tested in Perth here the idea of Solgaleo, and it didn't seem consistent enough. I know one deck did make it. It was one, didn't it? The Lurantis Solgaleo, but I can't put that down to. I wouldn't doubt that guy's list was as consistent as he could possibly make it, but I still don't think it's a strong enough deck on its own to consistently win enough rounds to make it to the top 8 of the tournament. I think Sun Moon so far has just added tech cards, but more so you look at these decks and there was Taurus GX in the Turbo Dark and in the Veilguard, and I think some of the Vespiquen lists played it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's probably the standout card of the tournament, in my opinion, would be the amount of decks that were able to abuse it in the top 32.
I want to go to you now, Paul, before we have another sort of discussion on this. Is this what you were expecting to see?
I mean, I think if we look back, Sun and Moon is the type of set where it's in the middle of a power creep. We've got the big EXs, the consistent powers of the basic Pokemon EX that are running around, and it's not geared to take over the format, which is why we've started seeing tech cards trickle in rather than full-blown archetypes, sans a few, I suppose, outliers with the Decidueye deck, the Solgaleo deck, and the one Lapras GX deck, which even in and of itself isn't really a new archetype so much as it is just a spiritual successor to the old Seismitoad Water Box. So, like, yeah, it's pretty much what I expected. I think as rotations continue to happen, we'll see Sun and Moon be more influential, not just because of the fact that there are less X and Y sets in rotation, but more because of the fact that it definitely seems as though the Sun and Moon sets are trying to slow this game down, or at least they're trying to bring the power, not new to the power so much as like plateau the power. Even though they have bigger HP and harder hitting things, the harder hitting, bigger HP things are usually on the fully evolved Pokemon. Whereas you can see, as we discussed with Tapu Koko GX and Tapu Lele GX, they're both 170 HP basic GX Pokemon, and they don't hit for like 200 damage or like really amazing Y Cyclone type deals. So they're not going to. I mean, I guess the idea being basically, long story short, this is what I expected because Sun and Moon is in an odd spot at the moment. We will see it be more influential as more sets are released.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. This isn't quite what I was expecting. I didn't really expect Mega Mewtwo to be as popular as it ends up being. It's pretty much 20% of the meta in this top 32, and that's quite crazy to me. Not because I didn't think that Mega Mewtwo wouldn't feature in this top 32, I just didn't think it would feature quite so often. And the one Gardevoir in top 32, it was Despair Ray, really seems like it's probably taken advantage of a very high influx of Mewtwo decks, especially as that's its strongest matchup, of course. As Alex mentioned, things like Rainbow Road, Gyarados, Lapras, Decidueye, they're all sprinkled in there. What stands out to me from Sun and Moon is that the decks are there. The decks are there getting top placings, and it looks like they're right on the cusp of being good enough. And I think that's really interesting because Pokemon has clearly brought out these cards at an appropriate power level to match what's already really good. And once those things start to leave or they start to lose things because of rotation, we're going to see this sort of natural takeover of GX Pokemon slowly coming over and over. So I think that they've, for Sun and Moon as it is, I wouldn't be too surprised if this is the same kind of deal that we see for the majority, where we see a few Sun and Moon decks sprinkled in to every top event because they're almost as good as the decks that already exist, and sometimes they have good matchups against some of them that propel them there. I know that the Lapras GX Waterbox deck, of course, has very good Yveltal and Volcanion matchups that make it, that kind of give it a little bit of an edge. Of course, decks like Decidueye have a very strong Vespiquen matchup because you can kill their low HP Pokemon before they have a chance to evolve. And then there's cards like Giratina EX, of course, that take advantage again of Vespiquen and Mega Decks and things like Yveltal even as well, preventing them from playing their double colorless energy. So this Anaheim really kind of solidified the fact that Turbo Darkrai is absolutely ridiculous. Unless you're outright countering it, it's going to be the most popular deck, just as Yveltal was around November, December of last year. I think that Yveltal, however, had way higher of a meta share in a lot of the events, way more than 22% at least. I want to move on now and talk about the top 8, because from the top 32 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of 13 different decks, we go down to the top 8, and the top 8 features 4 different decks. There is Darkrai, Vespiquen, Mewtwo, and Yveltal. So, first place, Darkrai. Second place, Yveltal. Third place, Mewtwo. Fourth, Vespiquen. Fifth, Darkrai. Sixth, Vespiquen. Seventh, Darkrai. Eighth, Mewtwo. After hearing that top 32, and you think to yourselves, well, I have to come back the next day and play again. Alex, does that seem like a reasonable transition for you?
Yeah, it does. I think at this point, what would happen would be the Mega Ray players would start pairing against, in particular, the Mega Mewtwo decks and the Yveltal Garbs. The Yveltal Garbs run at least 2 Parallel City. They'll set up Garb, Parallel City to 3 Enum to 2 or 1, and then the Mega Ray sort of just goes, oh, okay, well, that was game. And then it's also going to have to deal with decks like Vespiquen Zoroark, who some of them were playing Zebstrika and some of them were playing the Evolution Jolteon, so they're going to be able to hit Mega Ray for weakness, and Mega Ray's only going to be able to take 1 prize card off Vespiquen. It's going to be a good prize trade. The only thing, the point I wanted to make is, so of all the one-off decks in the top 32, the only deck out of all those, and you kind of can include then Volcanion and Mega Ray in this, the only deck that got through was the Darkrai Giratina. I think that's where we have, like, if you want to play these sort of a little bit out there decks, maybe not tier 1 sort of decks, that's where, the player's skill comes in, and someone who's obviously played the deck a lot and has, in a way, tried to directly counter some of the big decks. The Darkrai Giratina very much counters 2 of them in particular. If the Mega Mewtwo can't get Garbodor up, as soon as they Chaos Wheel, that's game over, because Garbodor's not going to be able to get a tool on it, and the Mega Mewtwo's not going to be able to touch it, EX, and when starting to use those attacks, it's not going to be a good time. And obviously, if you get a Chaos Wheel against Vespiquen, none of the Vespiquen lists that I saw anyway were playing Ranger, so that Giratina deck was able to abuse that. And then you obviously came down to Turbo Darkrai, and that's where I feel like it would be a very 50-50 matchup. It could go either way. It depends on obviously their draw system, their lists are. What was the question again? I've kind of gone on a tangent, haven't I?
Well, I wanted to know, and you've pretty much answered my question. What you thought about
Oh
the sort
yeah,
of the
yeah, the top
conversion
eight. Yeah,
rate?
was the
Yeah.
top eight? Yeah, what was the top eight? What I expected? Well, yeah, because the big three decks were there. With the Yveltal Garb as well. It was mainly that Darkrai Giratina. That's the only outlier, but that's my reasons for why I think it was able to take the win of the whole tournament in the end.
Paul, what are your thoughts on the top eight?
I gotta be honest, I don't know why Mega Mewtwo still works. Um, it just
May I input something?
you may.
The only deck I ever found giving that thing trouble was Yveltal Garb, and it was simply because of the heavy energy denial that were in those Yveltal Garb decks because they only wanted it because they expected to play mirrors all the time, which didn't really let Mega Mewtwo have a spot.
I mean,
Would you agree with that?
that's fair enough, honestly.
Because
Like,
nothing wrecks me more, like nothing wrecks a Mega Mewtwo deck more than like a E-Hammer Flagrant turn, you know, and you just like or like a Parallel City Flagrant E-Hammer. Twice
but it
like
just kind of
like
seems like
it's just so annoying.
Volcanion should also put the beat down on Mewtwo, like before they get Garb out. I don't know what it is. Mega Mewtwo Garb
No,
just seems
I've
like
played that. Nah, I've played that matchup a lot. Like you, obviously, I've taken like 4 prizes against that deck before, and then they set up guard, end me to 2, knock out my active, and there's no coming back.
Ah, I see. Okay, fair enough. See, like, it just doesn't feel like a very consistent deck. Like, people say, Mega Mewtwo Garb, and I'm like, so you've got effectively a stage 2, and you've got a stage 1, and you're gonna shove it into that deck, and then you're gonna put all this other stuff, and just, I don't know. I like Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo and Mega Mewtwo and Garb, it makes sense, but it just doesn't seem right, and yet it still does well. So
They
obviously,
usually use all their shamans in the first turn anyway, though. Like you just turn one Hooper, get your 2 EXs and a shaman, go spazzy, bench some more crap, and then later you parallel city it off your bench.
yeah, I mean that's fair as well. So ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Actually, I'm not too sure how the deck handled Greninja. I mean, obviously Garbodor it would have done well against, but I don't know how the matchup was because Greninja sort of seems like an eon ago since Greninja was in the format. But in any case, I guess yeah, Vespiquen I was expecting to be okay. So Vespiquen I was expecting to be in the meta. I didn't know in what capacity because Vespiquen just has the potential to be. It can be paired with almost anything right now. Zoroark is pretty obvious. Zeb Striker is pretty strong because it hits a few lightning weak things, which all happen to resist fighting for the purposes of Zeb Striker. So it's always a nice tech option. I was expecting Eviltal to pick up a little bit because Tauros GX is a very powerful card to pair with it, especially since people have been starting to pick up Ninja Boy, and it's just such a potent combo that it's absolutely worth using. And the deck is just a really powerful archetype. Turbo Darkrai still it didn't seem like it lost anything from the new set. I don't think it gained hugely. Yeah, I can't really think of too much of the gain from Sun and Moon, but like there's nothing that really slows it down either. So it makes sense.
Just got Taurus.
Turbo Darkrai Taurus though, like I don't know that it's
XP
necessary. That's true, but I still don't know that it's necessary with Darkrai. I feel like it just does enough damage anyway. Whereas Eviltal plays that 2-hit that gain a bit more often. And of course Eviltal doesn't share the same weakness as Darkrai. So that's another reason why I just don't know the Taurus is as necessary. I mean,
It is for the mirror.
that's true, but at the same time, you probably are just like building up your energies, going around and knocking out the other things, and then eventually, if like there's an XP share on Tauros, that just makes it much easier to knock out with Dark Pulse. So I mean, I can see it, but like it doesn't make it worse, is what I'm saying. It just doesn't seem to make the deck substantially better than it already is. So I still see Darkrai. I think Darkrai makes sense. Dark Giratina is something we haven't seen in a while since the Turbo Darkrai did really well at a previous tournament, and people were on the hype train for that one. So I'm surprised that came back. Or at least I'm surprised that did well. Giratina is obviously strong for the matchups that were in top 8 there, being against Vespiquen. and Mega Mewtwo decks. It's quite powerful because you can lock out their DCEs, and Mega Mewtwo can't get around Renegade Pulse before Garbodor is set up, which is also why I really like the Espeon GX tech that Travis Nonlist used, because Espeon GX, obviously, first, its Psychic attack could one-hit knock out a Giratina EX without a Bell Plant, assuming they have Chaos Wheel set up, and of course it can use Psybeam to potentially confuse them and stop them from using Chaos Wheel for a turn, at which point that gives them access to everything they need to then put the pressure back on Giratina. So I like that tech option there. But yeah, the top 8 is not, it's varied enough, but I'm not sure that was the top decks I was expecting. I guess I was expecting the Volcanion to be there somewhere, is probably the main thing to say. I was expecting a Volcanion there, and there wasn't one, which is a little surprising, given that the makeup of those decks, well, I mean, Volcanion's a pretty consistent deck as well. So, other than that, not too much else to say. Congrats to Kenny Britton, I guess, for winning the event with a deck that's not entirely unconventional, but at the same time seemed like it had fallen by the wayside after Turbo Darkrai took the reins.
I think there was a lot of emphasis on energy denial in previous formats that really kept the Dragons, Giratina especially, kind of on the down low, because they would attach a double dragon and then 9 times out of 10 every deck would enhanced hammer it. Even Volcanion was playing enhanced hammer at one point to deal with Yveltal Garb. Greninja was playing it, Yveltals were playing it, and Flare Grunts. Greninja was playing Flare Grunt. I mean, all of these decks had ways to just ditch special energy, and I think that Yveltal's less popular now than it was, of course, in its huge upswing in November, December of last year. Has really had a lot to do with sort of special energy kind of hanging around a little bit more, and I think that was a fantastic call to play that kind of deck. I want to chat to you guys very quickly before we get on to our question time about how Anaheim may affect the International. There's no other big event beforehand, as far as I'm aware. Do you guys
Is it,
know?
boys?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure the International is it, so could be a big deal. I mean, I think that well, Anaheim was the testing grounds for Sun and Moon. Like, Sun and Moon had just come out. People had obviously been testing with Sun and Moon prior to the event, but no one had been able to play in a big event with those cards. We still are 3 weeks out, or yeah, well, about 3 weeks out from Anaheim's results. So there's still potential for there to be swings. I feel like we could potentially see a few more Sun Moon decks infiltrating. Given that Australia's meta is vastly different to other metas, we could see an influx of Volcanion decks. And I also think that Lurantis might decide to pop up here and there. I think that part of the reason we've seen the decks we have is because of hype surrounding other decks and people trying to prepare for those other decks, which then didn't end up showing as big as they did. And that's why we didn't maybe see. So, like, for example, I heard no hide nor hair of Greninja in the tournament that just happened, and I don't know that there were many other people at LCs who played it. I don't think there was like a League Cup where Greninja was relevant. Like, it just fell off the face of the planet. For example, Volcanion seems to be dropping, except I didn't mention that it might pick up here, but we'll see on that one. And it's just because people are preparing for those decks, and then by extension, people are preparing for they're preparing to have consistent decks which can have reasonable matchups against these decks that are walking into Sun and Moon being super hyped. So we may see enough of a time lapse where people try to test different things with the IC, but given that it's an even bigger event, people might just stick with tried and true and just go walking in there with like Darkrai's, Volcanions, and Eviltals and stuff like that.
Alex,
Bodhi.
are you going to answer my question?
Was how it affects the international.
Yeah.
I would say that only deck that I think this tournament on really is Volcanion. I think it's going to be very, very minimal at the international now. I know it's going to be a huge tournament. It's obvious that, you know, the top 5 decks, even Vesperquin to an extent, are all having counters to Volcanion. I think you can't play a deck that is too easily defeated by Garbodor, inversely. If you're going to play a deck at the international, I would recommend you play a deck that does not lose to Garbodor or Silent Lab turn 1.
I can agree with that. If I was to say anything, I think that you might see a bit of Umbreon pop up in Oz as well. Umbreon has been very quietly popular here, especially in our results that we talked about. There are a few Umbreon that popped up, and I think that people will stick with that. That's going to do it for our main topic, guys. And before we sign off for the evening, we're going to get to a couple of questions. So make sure to follow us on Facebook at Ace Trainer Australia so you can get in on these Wednesday question threads. Sometimes they'll be on Thursday, depending what day we do these. We're doing this a day early because Paul's jet setting off to Melbourne tomorrow.
That's what I thought, but spoilers, I made a mistake with the timing. So, hey, we just got to do it early. Why
Well,
not?
we're doing a day early. That's fine.
Yeah.
Paul, you could have told us, mate.
My bad.
All right, guys, our first question from the Facebook page is 4 versus Seeker necessary? And how do you feel about one-off supporters in this format?
Of course it's necessary. It's Face Seeker. Like,
What's his
ends
name?
back play 4 Seeker. I want
Yeah.
I want 8 Sycamores, not 4.
No, okay, well, Alex's crazy comment aside, because nobody wants 8 Sycamore. That's just absurd.
I want 8 Sycamore.
You want to discard your hand 8 times and draw 56 cards.
Yeah.
Hey.
I want 8 Lysander. I don't know about you.
Okay. I mean, thanks, Jake. Shout out to Jake Cruz, who played for Lysander at a particular tournament back before Versus Seeker was around, because he forgot that he already had it in the deck and put in 2 more. So that was funny. Apparently it did well for him. Either way, there was an event that I saw Dylan Bryan playing 3 versus Seeker, which I think people thought was outlandish. I don't know. It seems necessary currently, but probably just because of the fact that we have such powerful supporter cards that the capacity to just use and abuse them at a whim, and the fact that it combos so well with the most used search card of Ultra Ball, there's little to no reason below 4 versus Seeker unless you're playing a Volvin deck. Supporters are a little bit weaker with the loss of Battle Compressor, but with the addition of Tapu Lele GX when that comes out, I think you might find a few tech supporters coming back in here and there. But yeah, there's, like I said, little to no reason to not play 4 versus Seeker with the current supporter lineup that we have.
Most of the one-off supporters anyway are like you only need them late game regardless, and you'll probably hit it by then because you run through like over half your deck. The only techie ones I ever see, I don't even see Hex Maniac that much anymore because everyone's running Garble, Silent Lab. The only tech cards I can see is like Ranger. Ranger's going to be a big one now, especially after Girutina's won Anaheim. Like, if I play Vesperquin again, I'm going to play Ranger. Or even Turbo Dark, I would probably, because like as natural counters like Giratina, you might see an influx of like Jolteon, Glaceon, something like that. So I think Pokemon Ranger is probably going to be the one-off tech supporter that'll return.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you're going to have one-off supporters or tech supporters such as Pokemon Center Lady, Hexmaniac Delinquent, Team Flagrant, etc., then having 4 versus Seeker is almost vital, because if they ever get discarded earlier on, then you want to be able to reach into your discard pile and just take them out at a moment's notice, and just like, it's not even surprise factor, it's just giving yourself the best possible opportunity to utilize the card at the best possible time.
All right, let's next question. What are some of your favorite one-off tech cards? Those could be trainers, supporters, Pokemon. And do you have any opinion on some obscure ones? Captivating Pokepuff, Spinder, Team Skullgrunt, etc.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of actually Espeon EX, not Espeon GX. I really like its ability to devolve things at a moment's notice, especially in a format now where we have more evolutions starting to pop up, and with things that can potentially spread damage, such as Decidueye GX. I think it's a really cool tech card to just drop into decks here and there.
Alex.
To great success with Trevor. Yeah, no, I think there's a bit of potential for that. I can't really think of too many of the one-off cards that are popping up at the moment. Obviously, I guess count as one-off one-off tech cards. So they're pretty cool too at the moment. But it remains to see if they're worthwhile.
Alex, any opinion on sort of one-of Pokemon trainers, stadiums even?
Well, the only card that I've ever run one of, which I've seen people not run in decks before, it seems silly, but I'll say Super Rod. It doesn't seem like it's a tech card, but like I've seen that Super Rod, and I've seen like other decks that just don't run Super Rod, and I just could not imagine it. Like I need that safety net. I just need that. Oh god, I opened like 2 megas and a Sycamore. It happens all the time, and then I need the Super Rod.
Shout out to Ninja Boy for being amazing tech cards, by the way.
I remember before Worlds, I was like, this card is broken as hell, and now, or like at some point, like there's gonna be something that comes out which Ninja Boy just breaks, and I think Taurus is like the first step towards that.
Sure is.
All right, next question. So we've been seeing lower counts of cards like Trainer's Mail recently over many different decks. Decks like Mewtwo and Yveltal often opting for 0 or maybe 1 or 2 just as a last resort. Going into a large event like Internationals, do you think we will see a lack of focus on consistency like Trainer's Mail, or will tech cards shine? I'm going to take the first answer on this one, because I think that the most important thing to understand is that we are going into a potentially 14-round event if you make the top 32. You are going to want to build your deck as consistently as possible. That is often going to mean Trainer's Mail, and I think that most importantly, Trainer's Mail is going to fix up a lot of your weaknesses going forward. Do you guys have any opinion on Trainer's Mail and how you see Trainer's Mail fitting into decks at a big event like the International Challenge?
I think oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I was going to say, like, yeah, for me, it's the same. Consistency is key. Like, I can't run a deck that's just going to, like, die. That's why I never played Greninja. Just, I need something that's going to get me through, like you said, the possibly 14 rounds. It's a catch-22. In order to get to top 32, you want your deck to be as consistent as possible. Like, the best player in the world. You might be like Jason. But if your deck is just full of techs, like there's that risk that you run that your deck just dies, and you open and you like start a tech, and there's nothing in your tech card, and you're like, oh great, I get to match up, but it's not useful. and then your opening hand is Flagrant, stuff like that. No Sycamore, no Trainer's Mail. So to get to top 32, you want a really consistent deck, but then when you get to top 32, or like the top outs can like be the difference between top 8 and first. So it depends. I'm gonna aim to cut. That's my goal. Yeah, it's just the top 8 the event, considering how many players there are. So I would suggest to most people, consistency is key. When you get your deck to the point where at least 9 times out of 10 your opening hand is not dead, you get a substantial turn 1 when you just play out your hand. That's when you can start mucking around with the Trainer's Mail accounts and putting the text in. If it goes below 8, then after you do that, then stop.
Paul.
Okay, so I guess with cards like Trainer's Mail, first, as a side note, I really hate Trainer's Mail because the amount of shuffling increased substantially when true format. And I just really, really hate that because it takes so much time. It's like I'll Ultra Ball and then I'll shuffle my deck because then I have the Trainer's Mail, so then I can shuffle my deck. Like Trainer's Mail, in my opinion, should have just been like look at the top 4, take a trainer card there that isn't Trainer's Mail, and then put the remaining cards on the bottom of the deck, just to save me time and like make matches go substantially quicker. Seriously, Toad, Shaman with Shaman, Trainer's Mail, Ultra Ball constantly just mind-boggling. But anyway, enough about that mini rant. So Trainer's Mail is obviously a nice consistency card, but then it lets you look at the top 4. Sometimes it's a bust, but more often than not it isn't. But in the sense that you will find the trainer card then. In saying that though, how often do you actually find the trainer card that you're looking for if your deck isn't geared to thin itself on the first turn because it's something like Vespercorn where it's full of evolutions, or it's something like a Mega Mewtwo Garbodor deck where I suppose you Trainer's Mail to dig for more consistency cards like Ultra Ball. Maybe you find the Flexstone or the Spirit Link, and it's an awkward time to find it. Let's look at Kenny Britton's list, for example. He only ran 3 Trainer's Mail there. He ran 4 Max Elixir. See, the thing is, Max Elixir can potentially thin your deck of 2 cards anytime it's used, and it has a much higher chance in the sense that you're looking at 6 rather than 4. But because you play more trainer cards than energy cards, or at least basic energy cards, you then in theory have a lower chance of, I suppose, then thinning the deck by 2 cards. So it's a trade-off. The more trainer cards you have, the more likely Trainer's Mail is to hit. And most decks will be running 4 Sycamore, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 versus Seeker, as like, and then usually 3N. So that's 11 cards there that aren't Trainer's Mail. So that's just over a sixth of the deck that Trainer's Mail can hit.
All you have to do is just let me run 6 Ultra Balls and 6 Max Elixir, and then I won't have to run Trainer's Mail anymore.
Solid. So all I need to do is lift the restriction on just those 2 cards specifically, and we'll be sweet.
I don't know about you, but like every time I play Trainer's Mail on the first turn, the only card I'm ever looking for is Ultra Ball or a Floatstone if I've started something really dumb.
I just don't like Trainer's Mail as a card. It's reasonably consistent, but it will be nice when it goes out. Okay, Trainer's Mail is nice to get out tech cards and to get out Ultra Balls on the first turn, but Trainer's Mail always felt to me like oh man, I hope I get that card that I need to boost my consistency this turn. Like, I need a Sycamore so I can continue my turn, or I need an Ultra Ball so I can get out my Shaman or Hoopla so I can continue my turn.
But that's like the whole argument of like, oh, do you want to run Catcher or not? Oh, play Pokemon Catcher. Oh, but it's a coin flip. Yeah, but would you play a card like 50% of the time it'll win you the game? Trainer's Mail allows you to like dig deeper for that Viaseeker for Lysandre. It's sort of like the same concept. Yeah, you might miss, but you also might win the game. Yeah,
and like at the end of the day, you have multiples and that you can use on the same turn, which is again why I hate the fact that it shuffles. So, I guess going into a big tournament, it is a consistent card. It is going to be nice to use, especially with decks that need to dig deep on the first turn. And it also is more likely to make your deck less end prone later on. And also, if you save them for later in the game, you get end low. and you have a low deck count, then Trainer's Mail is likely to get you into that Versus Seeker for the game, or that Ultra Ball to search out the Pokemon that you need, like a Shaman, or that Floatstone to get out of the active spot if you've got like a fat Pokemon stuff active.
Like a Hooper?
Such as a Hooper or a Volcanion that may not have the energies to retreat. So, good card, consistent card. I just don't like it, but I think that people going into a big tournament will find a way to make their decks consistent while also placing in the tech cards they need for the more successful decks, that is.
Trainer's Mail, in my mind, is always the card I put in when I get to 54 cards and I feel like I've forgotten some trainers. Like, oh yeah, I got 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Seeker, 4 Max Elixir. Playing 3 stadiums. Playing 2 Enhanced Town. I guess I got 3 Floatstone. I guess I put 2 Trainer's Mail in. Perfect. Rounded off. All done. However, in a big event, I agree with Alex in the sense that there is just a chance that card lets you draw what you need to win the game. And I think that's really important. And I think it will be really important for consistency going forward. Unfortunately, guys, that is all the questions we have time for. I have banked and saved questions for us to get to next week. I want to thank you very much. If you did send us questions, we will be getting to them. Please don't worry about it. I promise that we will. For the Scoundrel Ring, Ace Trainer Australia, my name is Bodhi Cutler with my co-hosts Alexander Bray and Paul Coletta. It has been an absolute pleasure having you with us today, and we will see you guys next time. Bye for now.
Good night, everybody.
Yep.